part of the problem is you can't put human worth or the soft cost or the soft benefit of human behavior in a spreadsheet. You can't calculate it. You can't calculate it like you do. Oh, this is how much our desk cost. This is how much the mainframe costs. This is how much our chair costs, right? Like those are things that are very black and white and you just know.
Welcome to Leadership and Motivation Unleashed, practical leadership for modern workplaces. A podcast where we explore actionable strategies to help you lead with confidence, build cohesive teams, and create thriving workplace cultures.
We're here for the career-focused professionals climbing the corporate ladder, the managers navigating team dynamics, and the leaders shaping the future of work. In each episode, we'll break down challenges, share practical advice, and leave you with insights you can apply today.
I'm Patrick Law, your co-host, a Gulf War veteran with over 26 years of corporate leadership experience in banking and payments, blending precision and innovation with a tad of passion to solve big challenges.
And I'm Rachel Book, a C-suite trusted advisor and an HR leader with 2 decades of experience at Fortune 50 companies, specializing building people-first strategies and driving impactful talent solutions.
Together, Rachel and I, we combine operational expertise and transformational leadership to bring you real-world advice on leadership, workplace culture, team dynamics, career growth, and anything else that we may want to delve into.
So, if you're ready to take your career and leadership skills to the next level, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Leadership and Motivation Unleashed. We have a group. Yes, it is Friday. It's a beautiful sunny day out in New Jersey. Patrick, you're back in your hometown and all is good with the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we have for you today is a conversation about how mergers and acquisitions change culture. It's a big topic, right? There's been a lot of research over this over the course of many, many decades. And there was even I think it was a Harvard Business Review article that came out and said that most mergers and acquisitions fail because the people aspect is simply not considered enough, right? They'll crunch all the numbers and go through the value propositions of incorporating the product set and the tech stack and all that. And then we forget to think about the people aspect. And so much of what can make a merger or an acquisition work is when you do put in that time, preferably ahead, right? So that you can consider in advance what you're walking into, where there's overlap, what some of the pitfalls may be. But of course, all the hard work happens after the two cultures are connected together. You know, I've seen a little bit of this when I was at Singular Wireless back in the day, and we went through the AT&T Bell South SBC merger. That was such a big merger that Stephen Colbert did a whole bit about it on his show, because it was kind of like he had this whole circle diagram of this company became that company, and then they rebranded this, and then they borrowed the logo from them. It was really funny. And we used to introduce ourselves by our legacy colors. It would be like, hey, I'm Rachel, I'm Legacy Orange. And somebody who was from the AT&T wireline would call themselves Legacy Blue. And it became a whole jumble about who were we, what kind of backgrounds and trainings did we have. And the way we introduced ourselves by our legacy culture is how people perceived us or, included us in things. And, as a recruiter and involved in helping to build teams, I've heard so much from business leaders about their perspectives on how M&A had shaped different industries. Like, for example, they would say, okay, I really want to hire someone from this company, but make sure they were legacy this and not that, because they knew about the baggage that some people came along with when they came from an acquisition. And so it affects so much about what we do. And Patrick, you've been through this many, many times. Curious to hear your perspective on what you've seen done well prior to evaluating an acquisition when it comes to considering the people part, and then what happens after the transaction completes when it comes to stitching people and teams and cultures together.
Sure. So I actually enjoy this topic because I've been at the table for several of these. And the first one I was 29 years old and I had been in corporate America for 3 years and I was scared. Like, it's a scary thing. And the first thing you jump to, at least me, I won't speak for the world or whoever's listening, but for me it was, am I still gonna have a job? What if there's another Patrick over there? What if? And I was invited in to the room because, and I've shared on other episodes, like where I worked was very dynamic. And that's a nice way of saying people didn't make it long. And I have stick-to-itiveness, which is going to be a thread on this version of our podcast, because whether you're being acquired or you're acquiring, stick-to-itiveness, grit, confidence, transparency will win the day. Now, when I say win the day, that means it's okay to let people know that you're valuable. They may not know. Now, in that first one, I was just Joe Schmo ops guy. Like, I don't know if I was considered at the table and as the work was being done, critical to the success of the business going forward. Because good, bad, or indifferent, lots of business development people, lots of M&A guys, mergers and acquisition guys and girls, they don't see people. They see the spreadsheet. And all that matters in that circle, my career has grown to the point where I actually understand and agree with it. All that does matter is the numbers. Business isn't meant to be like this cascade taking care of everybody. It's a business. Like, you grow the business, you take it public, then you're working on share price, or you grow the business and you sell it because it's private equity or venture capital money. I mean, there's a game afoot. Like, these people that do this work are really good at what they do, and they're incredibly bright, and they see the math alive. Not everyone can see a spreadsheet with numbers on it, or a PDF or a PowerPoint, and see the potential in the numbers. These people are built for that. So people usually aren't top of mind in these meetings. It's, what are the products? What's the platforms? What's your tech debt? You start peeling apart the onions on what's this thing cost to run, and what value do we have on it? And if we're going to meld it into our business after we acquire it, how do we sell what we have into their client base, and vice versa? Like, that's usually where the conversation spends 90% of the time. Now, the second one I was involved in, being acquired. So I was acquired twice in 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, whatever it was. I'm losing track. My name was actually in the agreement. Like, Patrick Law was listed as an asset. And that came with dollars. It came, which I didn't even know what to ask for. Like, I'm kind of still that way. Like, I just like the work sometimes. And I'm not trying to sound Pollyanna or brush it off. People, listen to me, everyone. Like, take care of yourself and don't be afraid to ask for what you want. But I'm just telling you, as a 31-year-old or whatever I was at the time, I wasn't paying attention to that. But it was kind of neat to say, oh, I'm listed as an asset. I didn't play that one right. There was a chance for me to help a lot of people, and I didn't take it because I was unaware of what that meant. Then you skip ahead to the third one. Now I'm aware. So I'm aware. And I made sure all my employees got an offer letter. Now, by the way, the people that came with me the first 2 times, everyone got an offer letter because I was so unaware. Everyone's valuable. It just isn't talked about. And that's what I wanted to spit out the way you asked the question, Rachel, is whether you're aware or unaware, or experienced or inexperienced with mergers and acquisitions of businesses, it really is the people that make those places work. The numbers on the page aren't real. The numbers on the page are a representation of the human beings that put the numbers on the page. The salespeople, the relationship managers, the ops people, the technologists, the. There's an army of humans that make these businesses work. And it's unsaid in the room. It's unsaid. But there's a problem there, and everyone needs to hear this. The problem is it's taken for granted. And I don't mean like in an evil, selfish way. I mean, there are groups of humans that buy these companies or sit top of these houses that I believe, improperly assume people are going to hang out for the ride. And there's almost like a fingers crossed mentality with how you treat humans coming over. The 9 acquisitions I was a part of coming and going, I kind of clued in on that by the 4th or 5th one in a big way, where I started taking the wheel in the room, talking about the people. And if not in the room, working alongside the room, and not in the shadows or in an underhanded way, but I kind of can smell the air politically well. And I know who to go to have the conversation to make sure the right names are in people's heads that you're going to need to be successful. So the culture aspect of integrating businesses really starts before people even talk about it. And I think that there should be more dialogue around the people aspects, not an assumption. And look, I've met some senior leaders that have said the words, well, these people would be lucky to have a job with our company. No, it's the other way around. The company's lucky to have the people. Now, not all the people. We've talked about this on other podcasts, right? Not everybody is that. Even though they may think it, they're just not self-aware. You could take them or leave them, but they don't know that. But that doesn't mean you don't talk about the totality of what the culture is at company A and what the company is at culture B and how that's going to impact clients. I will not use names, but we were a company of 350 people inside a very large organization. The larger organization took a lot of our dollars that we earned and invested in what they did for a living, because we were owned by a company that didn't do what we did. Our customers bought from us because of the people we had. We returned phone calls in a timely manner. We didn't ignore emails. We didn't let tickets stay for weeks and months at a time. Like, we were aggressive. We lived on service because the mothership took a lot of our money. We couldn't innovate. We didn't have a lot of new products. We didn't have a lot of cool stuff that our competitors were out there saying they had. We couldn't even say we had it. We were living on brute force and hard work, and we got really good at doing a lot with a little. Proud of where we worked, by the way. But, hey, that was the mothership strategy. We were a cash cow. Sometimes you end up at a cash cow. But that didn't stop the people from caring and working hard. Then this other large entity came and said, we want that. Mothership sold us to the other Fortune 150 company, a company that didn't put associates or clients first. The spreadsheet came first. And they were very open about it. In the room, working on the discovery of the businesses, that was basically said, which rubbed me the wrong way because I had made a living on having a really high retention number of staff. It was 99% plus over 14 years. That's almost unheard of in Fortune 150. People hung out. They liked the leadership. They liked the style. Even though we didn't work at a place that necessarily appreciated what we did every day, our customers did. And these were customer-oriented people. Now we were being acquired by a culture that was like, we just got to figure out more ways to charge our customers. That's a culture clash. Within months of that acquisition, the number is not important, but there were many people that left. And the people that left that didn't like the new culture were the people that really were the glue behind it. And that's kind of sad. Now, part of the problem is you can't put human worth or the soft cost or the soft benefit of human behavior in a spreadsheet. You can't calculate it. You can't calculate it like you do. Oh, this is how much our desk cost. This is how much the mainframe costs. This is how much our chair costs, right? Like, those are things that are very black and white, and you just know. The impact of good culture is hard to figure out how to monetize that so spreadsheet people understand why it's so important. And then it comes down to, is the CEO a finance person? Is the CEO a salesperson? Is the CEO an ops person? Like, all shapes and sizes run businesses. How does that manufacture itself with culture integration? Bring it a little bit closer to home and drop it down from 90,000 feet to 40,000 feet. And what the purpose of this podcast is to share our opinion. I am not an expert in these things. There are people who have bought dozens and dozens of companies and probably live on a beach somewhere with a yacht anchored offshore. I'm not that. I've just been through 9-ish and then sat in dozens more that didn't happen. I learned a lot along the way. So what I'm about to say isn't meant to be do this, but I want to say it's up to the individual leader to add human value into the equation. Don't sit there in a room during an acquisition or a merger before, during, or after the discovery work, which could take a year, by the way, everybody. Some of these things go on for years before they're done. And then you're dealing with regulatory approval, depending on how big the companies are. And there's a lot of unknowns and people's brains are swirling. Leadership cuts through the middle of that. You guys have heard me say that on this podcast multiple times. That's why leadership's in the title of this podcast. The individual person in charge of the humans moving through these types of changes can make a massive difference.
Yes.
If you don't care, or you don't try, or you're so scared in your own boots that what's going to happen to me and you're not thinking about the others, you're wrong. Not everybody gets a chance to be in a room during an M&A event, discovery, or to be asked to be the one to shepherd humans into the new culture. Be bold enough to speak on behalf of the people you're responsible for, even if it's a detriment to you professionally. That takes some courage, and not a lot of people have in corporate America. I've witnessed some really disappointing behavior in people that I respected because they cared about themselves more than they cared about their people. Now, this isn't me, putting myself up on a mantle saying, I only care about others. I never spoke up for myself. I told you in the beginning I didn't know any better. I just was learning, I guess, or too young and dumb, I guess, to use my mouth properly or my words properly. But as I hit my mid-30s and had a couple of these under my belt and dozens more from hey, Patrick, will you look at this? We're thinking about buying it. I gained confidence to speak. And I always start conversations, even today, where we work now. I'm like, it's the people that's the best product.
Yeah.
The people are our killer app. Because if you don't have the right people with the right attitude, doing the right things, and look, not everyone may agree with who these people are or what their worth is, but the commander on the ground knows. And if you're that commander, you need to be opening your mouth to say, look, without Johnny and Sally and Susie, these 4 things aren't going to happen. If you get a blank stare back from senior leadership or peers on those comments, that's on them, not you. There's something called assumptive trust. You've heard of this, Rachel, right?
Yes.
You and I have talked about this. The other party should assume that you know more than they do because you're the one in it, not sitting in some ivory tower staring at a spreadsheet, but you actually know the value these people bring to the client base, bring to revenue generation, bring to revenue protection, bring. Stand your ground. Be courageous enough to protect people that may not be overly popular or check all the right boxes for whoever's staring at them. But they're gonna till that ground properly and plant those seeds, and something beautiful is gonna grow. Culture is alive. Culture is a living thing. So if you don't have the right mix of seed and water and the right soil, your company's not gonna grow. So be bold in the beginning stages to speak up on behalf of people that you need. Then when you get over to the new place, or you ingest a new place, depending on which way you're going in the acquisition, be bold enough to go to the people first. Get to know who these people are. Who moves the needle for clients? Who's the political animal that just talks a good game but doesn't actually do anything? Find out who these people are and get really good at being politically savvy enough to navigate all that, to put all the pieces together. The popular people, the not so popular people, the people who actually do the work versus the people who pretend to do the work, and start putting the puzzle together early. People would be surprised how appreciative acquirers and the people being acquired are when there's someone in the room that's trying to do that. Because it gives a sense of steadiness. Because acquisitions are unsteady. People's brains are like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my friends? I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my mortgage. Big bad corporate America slapping us together. Or, hey, I don't like the reputation of that company. I don't think I'm going to hang around. Leaders have a responsibility in those moments to calm the waters. I don't mean bullshit, people. Don't lie. I mean, but you can calm the waters. And there's 3 secrets I have to calming those waters in those moments. And I'll say them quickly. Be transparent. Employees, coworkers, associates are like horses and kids. They can smell bullshit a mile away. So if you're not going to tell them the truth, they'll know. Because if they've been with you a minute, they know your body language, your facial expressions. They know. Don't stop being who you always were. Tell them the truth. Yeah, this is going to suck, guys. Like that one acquisition I was talking about, I probably should have went to prison for it. And the statute of limitations is over. But you're not supposed to talk about this stuff while it's going on. Well, I let everyone know what was going on. I had special meetings off to the side with people, my most key lieutenants. This is what happened Monday. This is what happened Tuesday. Here's why it happened the way it did, and here's what it means. Don't listen to water cooler talk. Listen to me. I will never lie to you. And I didn't for 9 months. I told them the truth all along the way. Did they still have some things in their head about, oh my God, I hope he's right? Yeah. But it's better than them saying, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I need to start looking for a job. Or, oh, I need to pay my bills. Like, you still got to get the work done while all this crazy acquisition stuff is going on. Are people going to like me? Am I going to enjoy the culture? Talk about the culture. I would tell people, I'm like, guys, we're going into hell. Like I didn't hide anything. I'm like, where we're going is going to upset you. But here's how we can cut through the upsetness. Stay true to yourself. Tell people what you think. Don't let anyone talk down to you. You're good at what you do. Yes, we're a smaller group being sucked into this giant company, but from what I can tell, we know more than they do. So we can share those things and we can be part of the solution. Don't be bullies. Don't be bullied and don't be bullies. You don't have to work that hard to be recognized. Just be good at what you do. Execute. When you talk to people like that, it actually lets people say, oh, okay, they're people too. Different company name, different business cards, different colors, different brand, all the stuff you got to learn. But there's still people trying to get a job done. So I'm spitting out a lot, but it's the same theme of everything else we talk about on this podcast is be honest till it hurts. Doesn't mean be unprofessional or a jerk. Just be honest. Be professionally honest and accurate. Be transparent. Don't be afraid to share things that will help people navigate churn. Churn requires a steadiness, so help them be steady. And third is speak up on behalf of your people. Speak up on behalf of yourself. No one else is going to do it. Everyone's distracted. If everyone did those 3 things with regularity, and that doesn't mean cross lines, it's okay to step on some lines to take care of your people. Be bold enough to take care of people. You're responsible for shepherding them across the valley. Don't push them off the edge and hope they make it. Walk with them and do it from the front. Demonstrate that behavior in front of them so they can see you're not talking out of both sides of your mouth. So culture immersion or culture integration is probably one of the hardest things you can do because there's so many personalities involved. Oh, and by the way, I got to put this out too. The other side's just as nervous. You don't think they are. Well, they're buying us. Well, they're nervous too, because what if the people they bought are better than them? Which sometimes ends up happening. I mean, my whole career, I ended up getting jobs that I didn't know I was going to get. Injected into a bigger company. There's already a Patrick Law there. And then you get told, no, there's only one Patrick Law. We want you to do it. Johnny's going to work for you. Ooh, then you got to navigate that. Like there's so much to this, Rachel, to unpack about integrating businesses, inheriting teams, being inherited, and the proper way to do that. I'd call it 50% luck and 50% what I just said. You can't control the luck, but you can control your own behaviors and add value and not be a pain in the ass in the process because it's so complicated and everyone's anxious and sometimes you don't know where it goes. Just be yourself.
We pick our topics based on what we imagine is on the minds of many, but we are not mind readers. So please use our form, which we'll link for you in the show notes, to suggest additional topics we should consider, request to be a guest on our show, or give us constructive criticism, which will make our podcast more valuable for many. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Wow, so many pearls of wisdom there. I'm going to pull a couple of tiny threads and then leave everyone with a few takeaways. A few things you said, Patrick, that really resonated with me is being in the room to understand the conversations about the merger and about the acquisition, whatever kind of transaction is going on. Because then if you're a leader and you understand what's in it for both sides, what you can do is prepare a people plan that resonates with the spreadsheet people. Because yes, we care about the people that we work with and we would love to stay, with the same team. But as leaders, we're not going to bat for people because we like them, because they're our friends, because they live next door to us, because it's easy. We're going to bat for them because we believe they are critical to the success of whatever it is we're trying to do. And so if you understand what's in it for the acquiring company, what's in it for the acquired company, then you can also, as you position why these people need to come with, you can make sure you're speaking the language of those spreadsheet people so they get that you're not just trying to be loyal to your people or do a favor for your people, but that you actually have the same goals as they do, right? To make all of this be successful. So I think that's really important. Another thing I would say is, and depending on the type of transaction and, the amount of people that are blending into the new environment and what the mixes will be, it's really important that both sides understand why the transaction is taking place so that they welcome the employees that are coming in, or they understand why they're joining this environment. And then everyone realizes the gaps that they're filling. And so if I'm one of those people that Patrick described that said, oh gosh, all these new people are going to show up and maybe they'll be better than who I am, knowing what skills they come with or what type of technology they support helps everyone decide how we can all collaborate with each other and we can all benefit from each other. And also informing the employees about why this acquisition is taking place, make sure that people aren't going to dig their heels in and cling to the past, right? Because it can feel very hard to let go of a company that you grew up in, that you poured your whole heart and soul into. And then when you become part of something newer, and they probably will scrap pieces of what you worked on and keep the rest, right? They're only going to keep the parts that are worth it. Knowing how that fits into the bigger picture may ease the transition for people that find it very hard to let go of something that really so clearly defined them. And so being transparent and informing everyone, with the level of detail that's appropriate will make sure that people aren't feeling like there's this vast conspiracy, but helping everyone understand this is how it can work well. Now, the advice I'd give to managers about managing the teams, because I agree with you, Patrick, it's up to the leader of individual groups of people to make sure that this all works well and to stop the swirl. And if there's water cooler gossip, just to make sure everyone's like, no, this is not what's happening. This is not a conspiracy. This is not some evil plan, right? Making sure everyone understands the role and the value of every team member can really, really help. But as managers and as builders of cultures, especially when multiple cultures are coming together, really consider how you mix things up, right? And so depending on the dynamics of the team, right? Maybe you have a team of 10 and 4 people are joining, or maybe you have a team of 2 and 10 people are joining. Make sure that you don't end up having cliquey, cool kid behavior where maybe some of the legacy people are sitting around and they don't get all the private jokes, or people are referencing things that they don't understand, or we're not explaining acronyms to each other. So I would say try your best to mix things up intentionally as much as possible. So if you're putting together project teams, purposely put a mix of people from the different companies so that they all learn from each other and appreciate each other's value. And, and then rely whether you have an internal HR department or a talent management organization, or there's some really innovative companies out there that can help create cohesion and collaboration among teams like this. And one that I'll mention is a company called Groups, Groops. It's run by Dr. Bobby Wagner, who was actually my professor in my graduate program. And she started this fabulous company that essentially democratizes Dr. Wendy Rhodes from Billions, if you've seen the show Billions. And what they do is they have groups of master's or PhD level psychologists, organizational psychologists that bring people together in groups, Groops, and they lead these discussions and they create cohesion, especially for groups that are not already connecting on their own. It could be a result of a merger, it could be other reasons. But if this is not happening by itself, you may need some outside intervention. And as a manager, it will be up to you to make sure that your team functions properly. And so consider what kind of resources or what kind of support you might want to add in order to encourage your teams to work together properly. So I think takeaways: be really aware upfront, consider which people are fundamental to the transaction. And again, this doesn't mean that some human beings are inherently more or less valuable than other human beings. It means in the context of the goal for this transaction, there are some people, because of skill sets and experiences they have, or some roles that will be critical to success. So considering that, going to bat, making sure you translate your ask in the way that both people leaders and spreadsheet leaders will understand and appreciate. And then, on a regular basis, as Patrick said, transparency will go a long way. Make sure people understand what's happening, why it's happening, and then keep your eyes and ears open and read the room to make sure that the behaviors that are forming among people as they join together are healthy and are collaborative and are free of any unnecessary drama or strife.
It's hard work, but it's so worth it. I believe that people are worth it.
Always.
And corporate America, also said on another podcast of ours, but it isn't built for that. So when you're lucky enough to have people around you that care, that's a good thing. It's okay to be a human being in a cold environment. Now, a lot of people would say, no, my company's not cold. Okay, good for you. But I think there's a lot of them out there that are. And that's what the reputation is right now, right? Corporate America is not in a good place in people's minds. You can blame it on COVID. You can blame it on whatever you want, but it isn't. So if you're a human-oriented leader because you have that in your heart, or that's just the right thing to do for the business, because I'm a little of both. I don't want people thinking I'm just this heart-led guy. I have a hard edge to me. I know that holding people accountable via proper engagement, because accountable is not a 4-letter word and it isn't always bad, right? People want to be held accountable most because it gives them a target. Human beings need a target. I happen to believe that the leadership component of corporate America is the most critical product any business could have. That doesn't mean it's coming from my heart. That's my brain too. I have some empathy, but I'm brain led. So I know good to great leadership is the differentiator. It is a force multiplier in a really hard environment. Because look, guys, whether you're in tires or you're making film or digital arrays or you're moving debit cards or whatever your careers are, it really just comes down to people because all the products are kind of the same. Look at the television commercials. Buy Tide, right? How many laundry detergents are there? 5, 6, 7? I don't know what they are. Yeah. What's the difference? I think the people that work there are the difference. But that's my mindset. Whether you use Tide or whatever else there is out there, Bounty, is that one? I don't know. It's the people that make the product great. It's not the product that makes the people great. If you have that mindset in your heart or in your head or both, like me, you're going to win. You're going to win more times than you lose. And you should want to have people stay longer than a couple of months. Don't be the reason people jump out of town. Take them on the ride. And my God, the things they're going to learn in their career. There's nothing like an acquisition and culture immersion and technology integration and to teach you who you are. Because it is stressful. And the people who can manage their way through that usually come out better on the other side. They're whining and bitching the whole way through. Hell, I do it. Rachel's heard me whine and bitch more than she probably wants to admit. But when you come out the other side of it, man, the lessons I've learned. So look at it like that. It's an opportunity to learn. So anyway.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate all of you. Please share your ideas. If you want us to cover any topics or if you'd like to continue these conversations, reach out to any of us. You already know where to find us.
Talk next time, guys.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Leadership and Motivation Unleashed. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review. It only takes 1 minute and it helps the show grow and reach more leaders like you in search of advice and motivation.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Please remember to share with your friends and family and coworkers, mentors, trusted advisors. This show is for everybody. See you next time.